This House is in session.
Mr. Speaker, revert to papers.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I am commanded to lay the annual report and audited financial statements of the Barbados Aircraft and Aviation Services Company Limited for the year ended March 31st, 2023.
Revert to government business.
Prior to the suspension on Friday the 20th day of February 2025, this Honourable Chamber was debating the Appropriation Bill 2025 in Standing Finance Committee. We revert to Standing Finance Committee.
This Honourable House is now in Standing Finance Committee.
Head 91, Sports and Community Empowerment.
Honourable Member for St. John.
Sorry, Chair, I ask for leave to sit in the well. Granted.
Along with your team.
Along with my team, Chair.
Permission so granted, Honourable Member.
Mr. Chairman, Head 91, Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment in the amount of $80,641,600.
Honourable Member, Minister, before you give your opening comments, let me remind the House and inform the members of your team of the process for this session. Honourable Member, you are allowed 10 minutes for your opening remarks. This will be followed by a similar length of time to the Leader of the Opposition. And then other members of the House will be given the opportunity to raise their queries or make their comments, not in excess of 3 minutes. Supplementary questions to the original question asked. It must be a supplementary question to the first question asked. Members, and they must not exceed that 3 minutes we saw outlined. You are allowed 3 supplementary questions, and then we move on to the next member. The members of your team be given 3 minutes to respond to the question, and you as minister, honorable member, will be given 5 minutes to respond to the questions that you may be asked. So outside of your original opening remarks of 10 minutes, you're given 5 minutes to answer each question as the minister, and members of your team, all other members of your team, be given 3 minutes. We're asking the officers from your ministry, once you have been identified to speak, you give your name and the office which you hold within the ministry before you begin to speak, for the purpose of Hansard recordings. Honorable member.
Thank you, Chair. I was so eager to get here that I forgot the process. Chair, 30 years ago, I started in this ministry. 30 years ago, there was a mantra of facilitating the needs and aspirations of our young people on island. There was also another one that stated that we were building tomorrow today. The reality is that nothing has changed in relation to those two, barring a period of 10 years where nothing happened. What I will do is to use my 10 minutes to outline some of the projects and programs that are happening within the ministry to benefit the young people of this country. And I'll start with community development. There's an initiative at community development where we call it the center management committees, and I will be brief on everyone. And this is a project to allow us to open the community centers past 4:30 when regular staff members are going home. This is a new initiative. The community engagement project. This is another new initiative on the community development that seeks to go across the island and to provide our young people with an opportunity to, 1, get a TAMIS number, 2, start the process of having their IDs, the process of starting a bank account. All of this is happening at our community centers and at locations where community centers do not exist. In addition to this, we have started at least 30 community groups through the Community Development Department, and programs are happening from the community aids at all of our locations. I moved to the National Sports Council. This is new. The Ministerial project that is happening across the island is something new that we are doing to ensure that some of the clubs and communities can have a facility that is safe, and in a situation where they need to gain finances, they can stage a fair in an environment that is safe. I would also like to mention that we have spent hundreds of thousands of dollars to regrade facilities across this island, and one of the things that the fencing that I keep hearing about is prohibiting is trucks and heavy equipment from damaging fields that we have just completed. There's a new volleyball court at the Garfield Sobers complex that will allow us not only to do beach volleyball, but maybe to attract outside teams. The netball stadium is being refurbished to be a building that will now house 3 disciplines: basketball, netball, and volleyball. The National Stadium is another project that is coming. I expect that maybe by the end of this month or early next month that the contractors will be on island to start the demolition process. There's a new 400 track that is happening at Wildy as well, and we are well on the way in relation to that. Coming, 2 additional 400 tracks so that our athletes will have ample spaces in order to practice. 5 dedicated football fields are coming because as a direct result of the Prime Minister's Cup, we realized that there was a dearth of fields for football, and we are embarking on the process of identifying those 5 football fields. In the next week or 2, we will be breaking ground for a new badminton and squash facility at Wildy as well. The Cricket Academy is something that is new, and this is happening at the old Sports Council blending facilities. We are embarking to provide training for all of our national federations. This is to strengthen the capacity of those particular NFs. The Community Coaches Program is something that is new. We believe in order to facilitate the needs of our young people through sports, that we should embark on training individuals at community level and help them to hone their skills to impact the lives of our young people. I move to the Youth Development Program. We are now in the 3rd year of staging what is called the I Am Conference that provides an opportunity to hear from our young people and to dispel a whole set of knowledge as it relates to them. This is new. The National Hotline was started almost a year ago, and this is a project initiative to help our young people who we believe may need a voice, even if it is just a sounding board. We are working in concert with a number of entities where we have MOUs in place that if it is a need for us to bump up the particular situation based on the call, that we have an opportunity to do that. There's a national mentorship program that is new as well, and this is a program that we believe our young people need to have someone to help guide the process, and hence this national mentorship program was launched. We started with 50 individuals at the start of it, and this year it will continue. The Moving On project is new as well. This is a program that is in all of the primary schools, and we have impacted in the last financial year, this financial year, 1,241 individuals through the Moving On project. What this is doing is providing our class 4 students, we're giving them a basket of deliverables to move into the secondary school to prepare them for life in that particular environment. We're doing anger management, conflict resolution. These are things that are all embedded in that particular program. It is proposed this year that we will again do a national youth survey, because one of the things when it came to the ministry 30 years ago is that we were research driven, and we have not moved away from that. The National Sports Training Program is also under the Youth Development Program. This is an initiative where we pay coaches for a short period of time to go into communities to teach our youngsters the rudiments of different disciplines as it relates to sports. The National Summer Camp is continuing. The Barbados Road Tennis Open is now a particular initiative that the last time 23 countries for the first time would have viewed a sports coming out of this country. The Youth Achieving Results Program, we call it YAR. This is to deal with music, and it's to do with the visual arts, where we provide an opportunity for youngsters to be able to get involved in those particular 2 disciplines. The Employability Program is new to the ministry. This is a program that provides an opportunity for our young people to have soft skills who are entering the job market for the first time. In YDP, we have started, and it's being proposed that we have 50 new community groups that are happening at this point in time. The National Youth Awards is in its 3rd year this year. After that period of lag, this is something that is coming because we believe that we need to be able to highlight and shine a light on what is happening good within the ranks of our young people. The Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme we have started, we launched the Youth Business Labs in Speightstown, St. Peter, this financial year, and this is an attempt by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme to provide our young people who are interested in starting their own business to have an idea from the very onset as to what it is like in order to start your own business, own your own business, and make it successful. Certification of our YES program. I believe that after the intensity of a program by the Youth Entrepreneurship Scheme that lasts for a period of 3 months or so, that we should certify this particular program, and we have worked with the University of the West Indies to ensure that this will happen. I believe from the next cohort of persons who will be entering the YES program, that they will have a certificate that is weighted in relation to the training that is happening there. In addition to that, we are hoping to move this program through the region. I know that we have been in contact with some of the directors of youth within the region to indicate to them that we have a program that can travel. Youth City is a proposed program that is coming because we believe there's a need for us to expose those persons who are involved in their own business. So we're going to set up something that maybe once a month, we will have all of the young people who are involved in their own business to come to a location and showcase the goods and services that they have to offer. On the YES, this is a constant, the YES camp, and this is a camp that is run parallel to our national camps that will allow youngsters who even at that early age are interested in self-employment to be able to have a hands-on experience in relation to the world of business.
Yes, Honourable Member, and you will have a hands-on experience to wind up. 30 seconds.
Chair, I will come back if the opportunity is presented to outline the other areas, but at this point in time, that is just a snapshot of what is happening with some of the programs. So with those few words, I beg that Head 91 stand par.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Good morning, Your Honour, and thank you very much for the opportunity. And good morning to the Honourable Minister and to your distinguished team. I did note with some amusement and also the Minister's confession that he was so eager to occupy the space he is in now that he ignored the formalities. I know he is a very ardent fan of the NBA, and I thought that at one point he was simulating the slam dunk contest which he saw a few weeks ago, where one of the winner, in fact, jumped over a car. There's no car in here, but I thought he was going to jump over the desk as he made his way to where he is now. And we are there. I am not bringing any secrets out, that the Honourable Minister must now be congratulated for his late preparation, since he was not due to appear at these estimates, but the turbulence within the government. Beg your pardon? Always prepared. He's always prepared, but he was not due, the Honourable Member was not due to participate in this exercise, but due to the turbulence within the government, we now welcome him in his admitted eagerness, and what I say is his excitement to occupy the well. What we do notice is a preponderance of sports personnel. I looked at the list this morning, and close to the top of that list, matters of officials dealing with sports, Sports Council, Director of the Sports Council, and so on. I'm not going to ambush the Honourable Minister. I will ask him all the questions that I intend to ask, since I take the philosophical position that public servants should not be brought here to be questioned, that we should be questioning the Minister, and the Minister can consult his officials, so that I will not ambush this Minister. I am going to give this Minister early notice, that I will be asking questions about the mini stadia, the National Stadium, the Barbados Defence Force Sports Program, the Community Development Department, and the future of the Community Development Department. Now, when I look at this list of officials here, without disrespecting anyone, at the tail end of the list is the Community Development Department. We are hearing, the public is hearing, that that department is due to be scaled back at a time of crisis within our communities, at a time of crisis within the lives of young people, so that the minister need not feel ambushed. My questions will focus on those matters. The Honourable Minister told this chamber and told the people of this country that it is a new initiative that community centres are now to be open past 4:30. The Honourable Minister may wish to use the word renewed initiative. Certainly when I was a boy, and you were a boy too, Minister, we know that the community centres used to be opened until 8, sometimes 9 o'clock. So it is not a new initiative, so that the public will not be led into believing that this government is somehow reinventing something and calling it the wheel that has happened for many years. In the presence of the Green Economy Minister, who has told this country he's going to plant 1 million trees, this minister has promised this country that he is going to start 100 clubs. A government cannot start clubs. Clubs are organic and must be an outgrowth of ferment within the communities, leadership and availability of persons to form those clubs, except that when crime is rampant and when moral decay visits a country, Minister, I sympathize with you. It is going to be extremely difficult for a government to impose its will on a community to form a club. Governments do not form clubs. Clubs are formed by the citizens within the communities. But you have my sympathy. You can expect some questions, as I said, on the mini stadia. I noticed the minister has said that the fences, and he knows that I've kept a lot of noise about the fencing in and the fencing off of recreational areas in communities. He knows that I have criticized that. The Honourable Member knows that. And I would like to remind the Honourable Minister, in case he were absent on the occasion, a senior minister in here confirmed what I had been saying all along. A senior minister said that the reason for the fences is to allow people to make some money in the communities. That has always been my view, that the fences had nothing to do with sports and the encouragement of sports, but it was for entertainment, musical entertainment, revelry. And that certain persons were to come into the communities, charge fees at the gate of those innocent citizens within the communities. So I want the minister to relate to what his senior minister said in here last week, that the real reason behind the fences, in confirmation of what I had charged before, was to allow certain individuals to come into those communities, disrupt community and sporting activity, and transfigure those areas into areas of entertainment, paid entertainment. So we will ask about that, and we will ask about it in silence. I'm happy to hear that the netball stadium will be converted into a more multi-purpose area. I congratulate you for that. You know, I don't come here to criticize for the sake of criticizing. Where some praise is due, the government will get praise. And if the netball stadium is now to be converted into a multi-purpose facility, congratulations. What we will not congratulate the government for is the repeated promise of a national stadium that is coming. I don't know if it is coming through the seaport or the airport, but we're hearing that it is coming. What we want, what the people in this country want, is for the government to start the construction up at Waterford and stop telling the people of this country that a stadium is coming. No stadium is coming to this country. We have to build the stadium. Now, what I've noticed in the time I have left, Your Honor, is that much of the presentation has been on amateur sport. This government's program has been deficient insofar as professional sport is concerned. And we note that. We note the scaling back or the disappearance. I don't know what is the ministry's plan. Again, I'm not going to ambush the minister. I'm going to ask the minister what has happened to the Barbados Defence Force program, which produced a test cricketer, and which produced cricketers and footballers at the highest level, men who went into professional sport. I pause to congratulate Mr. Tino Bess, one of the outstanding names that came through the Barbados Defence Force Sports Program, except that today in Barbados, there is less focus on professional sport and more focus on amateur sport, which, as the Honourable Minister knows, as a former basketballer himself, when you indulge amateur sport, that lasts for about, let us say, the age of 15 to 25, 30, if the person is dedicated, and then you peter out into something else. The government now may consider directing much of its energies into promoting professional sport. You wish me to wrap up? 1 minute. You are very kind today, sir, as you always are. And I'm pleased to hear that the ministry is looking at musical and the visual arts, because this country has reached a stage, Minister, where there's much rebellion against the hedonistic revelry that is sponsored by this government. And I want this ministry, I say this in all seriousness, the people of this country want this ministry to focus on wholesome and uplifting artistic expression and to move away from what has enveloped the lives of the young people of this country. I hear that 50 community groups are coming. We would love 150 to come with the 1 million trees. But, Your Honor, I must obey your injunction, and I will defer my questions, as I have given notice to the Minister, to the question and answer session. Minister, I'm obliged to you. Your Honor, I'm obliged to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Having outlined the standing orders which govern this session, I will move directly to honorable members. Honorable member for Christchurch West.
Thank you very much, Chair. My first question to the Minister has to do with where the last speaker left off, and it relates to the National Stadium. As you're aware, we've been working, the Office of Infrastructure and Planning has been working very closely with your ministry to advance the progress of the stadium. It is not a simple process, because obviously we're working with a foreign government, and they have certain criteria and they have certain processes that we've had to adopt and follow through to be able to get to where we are now. But I would ask, for the benefit of the nation, can you or one of your officers update us as to where we are with the process for the National Stadium?
Thank you for your question, Senior Minister. Before I answer your question, Chair, with your permission, I would like to introduce my team, if possible.
So do, thank you. You may so do.
All right. To my left is Permanent Secretary, Mrs. Joy Adamson. To my right, Director of Youth Affairs, Mr. Cleviston Hunt. To PS's, at the back of the PS, is the Senior Accountant, Mr. Barry Ford. I'm surprised that you're not hearing, because this is supposed to amplify my voice. You know, you should try that sometimes instead of shouting, sir. Mr. Harley Haynes is next to the Senior Accountant. Ms. Yolansky, Community Development Chief, is next to him. Mr. Neil Morrell, seated behind the accountant, Mr. Nicholas Matthias, Superintendent of Works. Mr. Stevens had an emergency. I'm not sure if he's back. We have Andrea Titus, Principal Youth Development Officer, Mr. Ryan Mosley, the manager of YES, and Mr. Stephen Rowe, who is the Sports Development Officer. Senior Minister, we are at I would say, an advanced stage. Intimately involved in the process is Mr. Rowe, and I will ask Mr. Rowe to provide some information. What I would say to you is that recently the Chinese government would have asked us to clear all of the material that we had at the location in preparation for the demolition, but I would ask Mr. Rowe to expand.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, everyone. I'm Stephen Rowe, Sports Development Officer in the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment. Now, as Minister indicated, we have removed everything from the National Stadium that we are intent on retaining for future use. And next week, the Chinese delegation should be on island, where they will start the process of reviewing the stadium in its current state and making concrete plans for the demolition of the facility. Thereafter, that demolition will take place, and that will be followed by the construction of the new national stadium. It is envisaged, according to the Chinese timelines, that construction process will take some 29 months. And thereafter, we should have at least phase 1 of the national stadium with a capacity of seating 10,000 persons. That's on the western side. Also to be completed at that stage would be a warm-up track, a 400-meter warm-up track to international standards, and which is in keeping with the international requirement for stadia, and that will be located on the current Barbados Lumber Company site. All right, so we're moving swiftly along, and everything is on track at this point.
Thank you, Mr. Rowe. Look, I, more than anyone else, need a stadium as well. But there's this belief within the ranks of the other side that the need for a stadium came up in 2018. But for 10 years, the same facility was just there lying idle. But all of a sudden, there's this rush in relation to the stadium. Everybody on island is aware that we need a stadium. Stadium is coming, 10 years. The Ministry of Sports at the time did absolutely nothing.
Thank you very much, Minister. And we all too well recall that the other administration looked at it and did nothing. And this government, on the other hand, is doing something about it and has made significant progress. I just wanted to make one follow-up because your officer did say phase 1. And again, for the benefit of the nation, what is included in phase 2 and how does that impact the road that goes alongside the stadium?
Thank you again for the question. Phase 2 will involve us mirroring what is happening in phase 1, meaning that it is expected that, I think that's the northern side, additional 10,000 seats will be created to complete the stadium. The issue with that is that we have to redirect the road at that particular end. Because of the expanse of the phase 2, it will mean redirecting the road slightly using a portion of the Botanical Garden to meet back at the junction by Combermere School.
And how far along are you with those designs?
Those designs are in process. Mr. Rowe, if you want to expand, you can, please.
Thank you, Minister. So with respect to those designs are being influenced by the master plan for the National Stadium, which is currently being completed, well, the draft of which has been completed and will be reviewed shortly, and that will inform the exact location of the stand as well as the design of the road? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. My second and final question, and please forgive me for going to the constituency, but I know I don't often do that, but I feel that I must at this time. Exactly 12 months ago, Minister, you would be aware that monies were transferred to the Sports Council in order to build a facility in St. Matthias. The people of St. Matthias do not have never had, and are begging for a facility in which to have various events. In addition, it is land that is adjacent to the Arthur Smith School. Planning permission was sought and received. This administration then transferred monies, significant monies, to the National Sports Council over a year ago to have that facility built. And what saddens me, Minister, is it is a facility of 1,000 square feet, less than 1,000 square feet, I believe. And it has taken 12 months, and nothing has started at this location. And I find it very hard to believe, and maybe you can update, or maybe one of your officers, as to what is the status and when will this facility be built for the benefit of the people of St. Matthias and the Hearts Gap and surrounding areas. And let me go further. The Arthur Smith students, I'm talking about 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, use the field next to where this facility is. And oftentimes, if they have to go to use the bathroom, they have to trek all the way back to the school from this field, which is a major inconvenience. However, if the facility is built, it means that they could just go straight to the facility and use the bathroom rather than having to trek all the way back to the school, which is at some distance. So I would like to get an update, and then I'll come back with a follow-up question.
Thank you for the question, Senior Minister. I will ask the Director of the National Sports Council to respond to you.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Honourable Minister for Christchurch West, and thank you for your question. This project at St. Matthias is still very much in focus and still very much in train. In terms of the 12-month deadline,
Officer, please state
my apologies.
your name.
My apologies. Neil Merle, Director, National Sports Council. My apologies. Let me again say that restate that this project is very much in focus and in train. Like any project of this magnitude, we had to assemble an engineering, an architectural team to provide, first of all, the design and construction drawings, and also to provide estimates with regard to the project. We had been pretty much advanced along that line, and we were on the process of going towards tendering. But the scope of the project has changed, and the consultants are currently in the process of creating the design for the new scope of works for that particular project. So that's where we are. The National Sports Council are in the process of waiting for those new scope of works for the design for that particular project. But we are quite advanced in terms of the drawings for the particular project. Thank you.
Clearly, Minister, if you'd started when you received the money, the scope would not have changed. And the unfortunate thing is we waited too long to start the project, and then are in a position now that we have to go and reassess based on scope. And it goes to a fundamental problem that I have, and it has to do with focusing on the position at the time. And I guess my tone is disappointment, because I could not believe that 12 months later, after having land owned by government, after having planning permission provided, after having money provided, that 12 months later to build a 1,000 square foot facility, no bigger than 2 small 1-bedroom houses put together. 12 months later, we are still no further along. Can you give me a start date, Minister, or a completion date, or any such, so that I can go back to my constituents and say that this project is finally starting and this is the start date?
Senior Minister, what I can do for you is to give you a commitment that in the first quarter of the new financial year, that your project will be started.
Thank you. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you, Honourable Member for Christchurch West. Honourable Member for the City of Bridgetown.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman, and to colleagues, and to those for the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment. Let me start my quick opening run-up by really commending the slew of work that you all continue to do. Every year I hear the report, I am like, wow, how do you do so much with such a limited team and a limited budget, as you rattle off the number of programs and projects that you do for the benefit of the young people of this country. My question is directly linked to part of your opening in relation to the management committees for the community centers. Annually, we discuss this, and just for the benefit of my constituency and the country, I would like to know how far we've gotten with this particular project and how it is unfolding, how successful it is, where we are we getting to those later opening hours? Because as you would appreciate, this is fundamental to a number of social aspects in the fabric of our country. Just to list a few: social, crime prevention, community engagement, health and wellness, in relation to activities across this island. So my first question is really, where are we with the community management committees?
All right, thank you for the question, Honourable Member. We have started a pilot, and you know, it is unfortunate. I think the Honourable Leader of the Opposition, this is one day, sir, that you should have probably asked for a loo day, because I have been doing this for 30 years, and clearly from your mouthings, you have no knowledge of community development and the process of sports. I will come to you, but there's one burning thing that I need to respond to the Honourable Member who said that government do not start community groups. We have programs, cultural programs at community level where, I'll give you an example, in Huddersfield Turning, about 20 or so youngsters were doing a training program. Government converted the training program into a club, and they won an award at NIFGA. So I'm really not sure where you are practicing your craft when you say that government don't start community groups.
Honourable Minister, I do not wish to run you off track.
I'm sorry.
You will have the time to respond to the Honourable Leader of the Opposition when he asks his questions.
I will respond. I will respond.
Member for the city.
The Honourable Member really should have taken a little day today for this.
I don't mind, sir.
Honourable Member, the Centre Management Committees, look, we have a situation where our staff usually work from 8 to 4:30, and we felt there was a need to have volunteers from within the community where our community centers are planted to be able to manage the facility to help us in terms of bringing projects on stream to benefit not only the youth in this case, because it's community development. So senior personnel as well who want to engage in some of our activities. We have done Care of the Elderly program that is outside of our target group, which is 9 to 29. And we are moving along. You would have seen ads in the paper, but I'm going to ask Deputy Chief Ms. Kay Hines to provide you with an update in terms of where we are with those particular. Yes, if Ms. Hines can join us in the while to share the information in relation to the Centre Management Committees.
Good morning, Kay Hines, Deputy Chief Community Development Officer. Currently, we have 4 center management committees up and running. These committees are located at the Glebe Resource Center, the Draxall Resource Center, the St. Mark's Resource Center, and the St. Elizabeth Resource Center. We are currently advertising. The closing date would have been the 28th of February, 2025, in regards to getting an additional 30 center management committees at all of our resource and community centers.
Thank you very much, Minister and team. My second and third question together will relate to the lights in a number of areas, particularly the YMCA, Emerton. While I give great thanks and congratulations to your team for getting Emerton back up and roaring again, the issue of lights has been a serious issue for the community. In addition to the YMCA, which not only yesteryear, but I believe now and into the future can provide a exceptional space for all types of activities. So for me, I would like to find out how are we looking in relation to the lights in these particular areas, and I would like to close really with a serious appeal for one of those community gyms. As I move around the different places and I see them, I believe that the city could do with about 10, but I would be grateful for one as a start. So I would like to make that appeal in my closing, Minister. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Rest easy. Plans are in train to deal with the 3 areas that you would have identified. The Emerton area, the YMCA, and the gyms. But I will ask Mr. Matthias to shed some light in relation to these particular projects.
Thank you, Minister. Good morning, everybody. Nicholas Matthias, Senior Superintendent of Works at the National Sports Council. To answer your question in order, Emerton, we are actually waiting on the shipment of lights to reach Barbados. I've been told that they will get here on March the 7th. So we can upgrade the lights at Emerton. So we had gotten them back into play. And as you can imagine, the lights are aged. So we are going to upgrade them similar to what we did at the Patchwood Road location. Also at YMCA, actually YMCA still calls us for assistance for painting of their courts. And I cannot see any reason out there that we cannot assist them in getting some lighting down there. I myself am a product of basketball, and I have played at YMCA in my school days. So that is one that we definitely can look for the future, especially in this shipment of lights that we have coming in. It is definitely a consideration. And the outdoor gyms, I know everybody wants an outdoor gym, and I can see how they have been benefiting the country as a whole. And we can definitely, through our minister, promise to have one put either at the YMCA or even the Emerton location as well. So that is definitely something that we can look forward to doing as well.
From your mouth to God's ears and to Hazard's ears as well, and we will hold you to that. So I thank you very, very much for that. And in closing, Mr. Chair, as I said, I'd like to thank all the various departments of the ministry, particularly the Community Development Department, the National Sports Council, and the Block Transformation Initiative for the work that they've been doing for the young people of Barbados generally and the city of Bridgetown specifically. Mr. Chair, you.
Thank you, Honourable Member for the city. Honourable Member, we move from the center of Barbados to the top of Barbados, the north, St. Lucie. I will take this opportunity, in obedience to the rules, to pose my questions. Last year, we were promised that the field in Eastern St. Lucie named after the area named after one of our cricketing greats, Charlie Griffith, would have been, the question that I posed would have been given some of these lights. I must commend you that the Ministerial at Checker Hall, by the way, is working well. You have some fantastic lights, extremely bright, and the youngsters are playing football again. But that's another question. I have another question following up that, but I'm talking about the Charlie Griffith Center, where the field is in pristine condition. The person who takes care of that field does it freely, free of cost. FOC, in other words. And that is one of the best, if not the best ground in St. Lucie. Unfortunately, the youngsters cannot play beyond 5 o'clock, or whether they rent lights to get to play. Last year, I was told in this honorable chamber that it is that lighting for that facility, named after one of our cricketing greats, I emphasize, would have been in this year's estimate. Nothing, absolutely nothing has been done to indicate, and I know it cannot be done by 31st of March 2025, to indicate that lighting will be in that facility by the end of this financial year as promised in 2024. Minister, I want to find out from you or any of your officers when this ground for the people in Eastern St. Lucie, for the school next door, which is the Ignatius Bayer Primary School that use these facilities, will be outfitted with those nice bright lights similar to what is at Checker Hall in the West.
Thank you for the question, Chair. Look, just like sports, the lighting project at the National Sports Council is evolving. The demand is heavy. It is unfortunate that we have not yet reached this particular location, but I will ask the director to provide some information as to when and how we can facilitate the lights at the location that you would have identified. Director?
Thank you, Minister. I'm not going to do any violence at all to the Honourable Member for St. Lucie's statement that, in fact, the ground at Ignatius Bar is a beautiful ground, because in fact it is. Of course,
Honourable Member, Honourable Officer, could you please speak into the mic for the purpose?
Yes, sorry.
And I can hear you too.
Sorry, Neil Merle again, Director, National Sports Council. As I said, I'm not going to do any violence to your statement that the ground at Ignatius Bayer is indeed a beautiful ground. What we would have had to have done though, and as you indicated, you have had lights at Checker Hall and you have also had lights at Connell Town in your parish. We have had to prioritize the placing of lights across Barbados so that everyone will be happy. And therefore, coming up to this financial year and with the lights coming in on March the 7th, indeed we would have a look at placing the lights there, but that would be part and parcel of the overall package that we are looking at in terms of the lights at the various other facilities. So everybody has to get a piece, and we will certainly consider the lights at St. Lucie. Thank you.
I thank you, but I am a bit hesitant about the word consider. That consideration, as far as I am concerned, should have already been done, and you will now come to make sure that these lights are installed. However, I will move on. And Honourable Minister, I want to congratulate you on the installation of the fencing for the Ministerial set up at Checker Hall. And the reason I do that, this same ground that we just spoke about at the Charlie Griffith Center playing area, I have received several calls, or I can look for a call through every rainy season, where the person who takes care of this ground, as I said earlier, free of cost, complains incessantly regarding animals who come on to the playing area, and makes it extremely difficult. It destroys. We had a similar experience at Half Moon Fort at Clean Gates, where the principal complained to me as well regarding the field there and the use of the field, the misuse or the abuse or the damage to the field. So I would like, I know it is not possible, but if I could get 2 more, I'd be happy. Because in the wet season, when animals run on to these fields, they are damaged, and sometimes it takes a while and it can cause injury to the persons using the field. So if the Honourable Leader of the Opposition has a problem with Ministerial, the residents and the people of St. Lucie do not. We are happy for what we have because we see the importance of this. We who live in the country, not in the heights and terraces, we live in the country where our animals roam freely, sometimes to the detriment of things that we would like to preserve. But this situation and this Ministerial, the fencing, not to say the fencing, prevents that kind of damage that people have complained about. The curator at the Ignatius Bayer Primary School, the field at Charlie Griffith Center, has complained to me on several occasions. And in addition to the lights, at some point in time, if you are making a second assessment or if you have any extras, I would like them for that field named after this honorable gentleman, son of the soil in St. Lucie. Your response, sir.
Thank you, Chair, for the endorsement as it relates to our Ministerial. It is only persons who are totally out of touch with sports and community that would be critical of these Ministerial. I've heard that the fencing is prohibiting persons from within the community to enter the facility. And the reality is that at every single location, there are no less than 8 gates at a particular location that will allow persons to enter these facilities, including pier doors that will allow bigger equipment to come in. In addition to that, I have a request now where I think it's Mount Tabor School is asking for permission to have a fair at Gore Hill. So I don't know if the Honourable Leader of the Opposition would consider a fair as a fact. I think what he's being guided by is the fact that a senator who's known to him is having fets at the Botanical Garden on a regular basis, maybe 2 and 3 times a year. So I think that is the fact, Honourable Member, that you are talking about in relation to, so you're mistaking, you know, you're juxtaposing the two, but they're not, you know what I'm saying? So that is the fact that you're talking about, your senator and his facts. So to answer you, Chair, we are aware that the ministerial projects are finding favor wherever they're located, and we will see how best that we can endeavor to facilitate you at the one that you have identified in St. Lucie.
Thank you, Minister. I now yield St. James South.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I appreciate having the opportunity to be able to put a few questions to this ministry that does so much in terms of helping youth, fostering community development, and therefore helping to shape a nation by all of the things that you've shared. I would be very keen to hear some of the other things that you did not have the chance to speak about, because I'm taking note of these things because I want to make sure that as many people as possible in St. James South get the opportunity to be a part of the new initiatives. Now, my first question has to do with the fact that in St. James has 24,000 electors. And that tells us that there are even more people who live in St. James. And there is only one community center, which is in St. James North, neither St. James Central or St. James South. We do not have access to any type of community center. And this limits significantly the type of activities that our community groups can put on, the types of training programs we would like to have. Very often we've had to use the Desmond Haynes facility to try to put on activities, but the room is so small, it can only hold between 15 to 20 people. And so this has been a problem for us, and this is why getting some kind of community center that, if it can service both constituencies, would be very, very helpful, as well as completing our sports pavilion. Some work was done initially by the Sports Council to try to repair the fence and so on, but the building is in very bad shape. There isn't, the electricals are very poor so that you can't plug in a lot of heavy equipment. And so we would like to know when we can get that completed and ease the pressure on the sports pavilion trying to act as a community center. And we would like to be able to get our fencing completed, because unlike other parts of the country where the honourable member for the Leader of the Opposition lives, we have people who love opportunities to make money, to be able to do things for their families. So they're always wanting to have activities, paid events, but they don't have an enclosed space. So we look forward to that fencing to give them, as well as our community groups. Our community groups need to raise money. They need those facilities. So I would like to know how soon St. James South can get a community center and get our sports pavilion sorted. Thank you so much for that first question.
Thank you, Honourable Member. Look, and I thank you for raising the point in relation to fundraising for community groups and clubs using our ministerial. I know I did a site visit with you at a particular location with the understanding that it could have been converted into a community center, and we're still exploring that. But I will ask the Acting Chief at Community Development, Ms. Yolande Skeet, to respond to you.
Good morning. Yolande Skeet, Acting Chief Community Development Officer. Well, in relation to the parish of St. James, we have Trent's Community Center, which was recently refurbished and due to be reopened, well, this week. So that should be good news, for those residents in St. James. Trent's Community Center is a center where you can have community programs. There is a large stage, all wooden floor, so therefore those persons who are into the arts, they would appreciate such a facility. That center was closed for approximately 3 years, but we are now outfitting that center, so therefore we should have that center reopen at least this week. And I must add, because it is in that particular location, we have also installed air conditioning systems because we know that the days are extremely hot. In relation to St. James as well, there's also Sion Hill. Sion Hill, we were there, we did some work on Sion Hill. And that too, is a recently refurbished center. We are also carrying out some work at the Baywoods Community Center. So those are 3 centers in St. James. Weston, we are slated to have some work done there in the new financial year. So in relation to the other part of St. James, we did have discussions on the refurbishment of an identified facility there. But as Minister said, we are going to relook that, and therefore I am hopeful that we should be able to have a facility which would address the needs of the person in the Haynesville, Holders Hill, and in those areas. I know that that should not prohibit you from having activities, because there's also the center at the St. John the Baptist. There's a recreation center there. So if, when we start on these assessments and we have identified programs, we would seek then to engage private persons, those persons with facilities, that we can ensure that your constituency, St. James South, that would also benefit from any programs we have.
I'm glad to hear that you are looking to try to do something for us, because none of those facilities that you've mentioned are in St. James South at all. And we are at the southern end of St. James, and all of those are at the northern end or in the middle, but none of them touch St. James South at all. The other area, and I am hopeful, the exercise equipment program. I look on with envy when I pass my neighbor in St. James Central to see his lovely exercise equipment that is there. But as yet, we don't have any in St. James South. And I need to know that this year, we will get it. Because St. James is, people in St. James South are very active. They like a lot of walking, they like exercising and so on, and I want to encourage that because it is healthy. And having that exercise equipment would make a lot of difference. And as you would remember, we had a private sector entity provide the basketball court at Oxnard's, where they did a very modern layout and gave them nice equipment. And the Lakers, which is one of the national teams that does very well, that is their home ground. But as you know, without the exercise equipment and without toilet facilities, they have no toilet facilities. And I must say that is a challenge for them when they come to play, that there is nowhere around that they can go to be able to use the bathroom, or for women to engage in the sport because there's no place for them to change. So I would like to ask that some consideration be given to creating some sort of toilet facility there, as well as locating the exercise equipment that my seniors and my young people need in order to stay healthy. When can we look forward to something of that nature?
Thank you, Honourable Member. I'm sure the accountant at the National Sports Council is smiling because we have had discussions about the deployment of those community gyms, and I can assure you that they will be coming as soon as possible. We have some on island, and we're looking very soon to make sure that we have them in different locations. In relation to the washroom facility, I don't know, is it state land? Is it state land? Okay. All right. The ministry is moving now towards container solutions for a number of our projects because it is more feasible than bricks and mortar. And as long as it's state land, I am sure that Mr. Matthias and his team will do a site visit to see how best that we can probably assist you in having that washroom facility to take care of those persons who play sports at their location.
And then my last question, I've been looking forward, this is over a year, to the youth commissioners. And I urgently need to have our new youth commissioners on the ground, because I know all of the sports that you've outlined that you're going to be doing.
Honourable
I need that
member,
person.
you had quite a run-up for your other two questions. Please shorten the run-up that I can.
I will,
that
but
I
this
can
one is
move
actually
on.
the shortest.
Yes.
Right. So I just need to know how soon can we expect those new youth commissioners to be on the ground, to work with our clubs and all the sporting activities which you're putting on?
Honourable member, what I would say to you is that plans are at an advanced stage in terms of what you're requesting in relation to the new youth officers that will be coming to the ministry. We too are eagerly awaiting that move because, as I would have mentioned before, there is a national youth survey that is coming, and we would need to have all of our officers in place in order to execute that particular project. So my short answer is that you should have that officer in place very soon.
Thank you. We move quickly to the honourable member for St. James Central.
I'm very grateful to you, Mr. Chairman, and I want swiftly just to ask the Minister and Mr. Matthias if they would be so good as to assist me on this question of maintenance of facilities. Let me say to you, Honourable Minister, that I am one who is fully supportive, and I want to thank you for the fact that we have a gym at Hoyts Village, and I'm supportive of the efforts that you are making, not only in the context of the gyms, but also of the fencing. And I will say that at Bagatelle, when I became MP in 2003, Bagatelle was a treacherous place to play cricket or football because of the fact that the highway, and it is a highway running right parallel to Bagatelle, was often the place where a ball would end up. And whether it is a hard ball or a football, it had led in many instances to some serious accidents along that highway as cars swerved at the last minute to avoid a ball rushing onto the highway. To the extent that that has been mitigated by fencing, I am grateful, and the same thing has now happened at Hoyts Village, and again, I am grateful. I make no comment about the short-sightedness of others who do not see the benefit of the fencing. And equally, the bleachers, as the Honourable Member for St. James South has said, facilitate us with having a seated audience at events, and therefore, by extension, there's a commercial opportunity that might otherwise not have existed. But I want to speak about the plans that you have for your maintenance scheduling, because to me, that is the weakness with the National Sports Council. I don't humbug you all regularly, but when I do have to humbug you, I often have come to the end of my temperament. And the truth is that a pavilion like Bagatelle is right now a shambles. And I really want to know what is the schedule, because Mr. Murrell would be able to confirm that I've spoken to him about this in 2022, and then in 2023, and in 2024, and we're now in 2025, and I do not know how I can continue making excuses. Is it going to be repaired? And if not, why not? And I think that is something that I really do want to hear about that aspect of it. And then, of course, the maintenance schedule, Mr. Matthias, with respect to things like lights. At Good Shepherd playing field, the lights were damaged when Hurricane Beryl passed through and remained dangling for months and months. And I believe it is true to say it's only at the end of last year or at the start of this year that those lights were fixed. And again, at Bagatelle, the trees grow across in front of the lights, and the ability to use the field properly at night is compromised because you have tree branches in front of the lights. And then when the trimming is done, I don't know if you're aware, Mr. Matthias, but when the trimming was recently done, all the branches were left on the field for the folks there to come and move and clean up. And these things, in my judgment, are simply not good enough. And I just want to hear what your maintenance plans are, and especially the scheduling of work with regard to Bagatelle.
Thank you, Senior Minister, for your question. And I have asked that we put that detailed maintenance schedule in place to address the same kind of issues that you are confronted with, but I will allow Mr. Matthias to expand at this time.
Morning again. Thank you, Minister. There are upcoming plans, and there were plans in the past for the upgrades of the facility, especially at Bagatelle. Due to budgetary constraints, we had to pull back and do minor fixes instead of the major fix. What I'm happy to report to you is that this coming financial year, Bagatelle has been earmarked, and we actually have contractors out there as we speak, giving us a full estimate on the major repairs instead of minor this time for Bagatelle. Over the last few years, we have been trying to focus on, we know we can't get them all done. We have 70 plus pavilions across Barbados. So over the past few years, we've been trying to fix at least 3 or 4 every financial year. And I'm happy to report to you that Bagatelle is due for this financial year coming. And we will endeavor to make sure that that is done within the financial year or before the end of the financial year. As it comes to the branches and everything, I will endeavor going forward to make sure that whenever that's done, to make sure that they are cleaned up as quickly and as efficiently as possible. I do apologize for it happening in the most recent time, but going forward, we will make sure that our scheduling will allow for us to make sure these fields are properly cleaned and efficiently cleaned as well.
I want to thank you for the answer, and let me just make a suggestion to you that perhaps the legal solution to the problem is, and not only here, but in other statutory agencies, that you, in contracting the work, you also put into the contract those things that you are concerned about that the private contractor needs to do in order to finish the job properly. And if you do that, you probably will be better able to hold them to account. Let me ask the question now of yourself, Minister, and Ms. Keith, I believe it is, who's the acting chief. And this is on community management of not only the pavilions, but the resource centers. And again, my question is simply one of policy. I am one of those who believe that the ideal of having communities being able to take control of a community center or a pavilion is a wonderful thing. In my constituency, we know frequently that you may wish to use and this is not to reflect negatively on the caretakers, but the truth is that a caretaker is not always there. And there are times when the little children want to use, for example, the facilities at Bagatelle. They're coming from Welch's School a little way down the road. On evenings at 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, 8 in the night, 9 in the night, people are still there and they're using it and may want to be able to continue freely without having to, rely on Sports Council to give access. The truth is that it encourages a community towards self-help. And I just want to know what is the policy of the Sports Council in this regard. And equally, as you say that, let me just say to you, Ms. Skeet, that I must say I listened to the answer you gave to my friend for St. James South. And the Sion Hill is very much in the north, and Bay Woods is very much in the north, and Weston is very much in the north. And you said Trench, but Trench is on the border of St. James Central. But may I say that a person living in Hoyts Village will got to take 2 buses to get to Trench. And St. John the Baptist, ma'am, not a good solution either, because with the greatest respect to the church who controls St. John the Baptist, and I ain't getting the noise now with the Anglican Church, but it is a fact, as I live and breathe, that between 2003 and 2008, St. John the Baptist was not in a state where it was available for the folks in my constituency, even though St. John the Baptist is right next door to Hoyts. And that was for a number of reasons, including maintenance issues and so on. But permissions have to be granted. And permissions will not always be granted by private entities for a public purpose. And we have to be mindful of that. Now, in my case, I have begged out, find the resources, and you know that there's now a container next to the playing field. And I'm grateful to the private sector for working with me. I'm not like the leader of the opposition who only visits...
Honourable.
Yes, who will only visit,
member,
I'm noting,
I'd be
sir.
grateful too.
Who will only visit constituencies when there's something negative to point at. I do my best to make sure we could get our little help. But we've come to the point now where we have the container, and what we really want to do as well is to carry it to a point where we can get your assistance in sealing the deal and have that as a community center servicing myself and my friend in St. James South. So my question there is, how can the relevant departments help us? Because we've taken the first steps in helping ourselves. And can we now come to a point of partnership, Ms. Skeet, in terms of concluding that? A two-pronged question, sir, but that's my last question. I have no more.
Yes, and I would want to advise members, I heard you did it quite a bit, Honourable Member. Refrain from calling names, refer to office. Thank you.
Senior Minister, before the Chief come to you, what I would say to you is that you're spot on in terms of having the community take ownership of our facilities to benefit people within the location. This is one ministry, and I've asked the National Sports Council to mimic what is happening at community development as it relates to the center management committees, because my community center at Gore Hill is out of commission, should be back soon, and training was done for a couple of programs at the pavilion. So I have asked that our pavilions too come under the center management committees. And I want to take this opportunity to ask all honorable members to send information in relation to your names for center management committees within your particular locale. They can be sent to my personal assistant, and we need at least 6 names for the community centers, and we're doing between 4 and 5 at the pavilion. So if those names can be forwarded to my personal assistant, then I will share with CDD and the National Sports Council so that we can have those facilities up and running after 4:30 to benefit those people who are using the playing fields at the locations. Ms. Skeet, you can proceed to address Senior Minister.
Good morning again. Yolande Skeet, Acting Chief Community Development Officer. In relation to the opening hours of community centers, well, prior to the establishment of the center management committees and ongoing, we have key keepers. Key keepers are located in the communities, and key keepers facilitate the after hours opening of the centers. So therefore, key keepers, and we have sought to ensure that those key keepers are within relatively close proximity to the community centers. What we can do in order to have that information, readily available so that other persons who intend to use the centers, that they are fully aware, we can publish the list of those key keepers. Those key keepers are our community partners. They are volunteers, they are not paid. And therefore, that is one aspect of ensuring that, we have those partnerships with the communities. So that would facilitate in relation to the opening of the centers after the regular working hours. In relation to, that's the second question, in relation to the identification of the container solution for a community center. Certainly, once we have that information through Minister, then in relation to the Community Development Department, we can assist in relation to the refurbishment ensuring that all of the necessary amenities are put in place so that the persons in your constituency, they can benefit. But in relation to a building in the constituency, as I would have alluded to earlier, we have just refurbished Trents. Because why I would have said that is because Trents is on the main road. So yes, for some persons, it would be difficult to get there, but for other persons, they might find it, quite easy. So we are working assiduously in relation to addressing those deficits, and certainly with the guidance of the minister, those areas where we have the deficits, then we would seek to address them at the Community Development Department.
Thank you very much, ma'am, and thank you, Minister. And I can assure you, not only do we have the container, but we also have some furnishings there now. It's taken us a while to get to this point, and I just want, as I said, to conclude, to seal the deal with the community. And so I'm going to I will write, and I will also call to invite you to join me on a visit so that you can see what is done, what else might be necessary, and I will rely on you to go forward as we hopefully can cross the line on this. I'm grateful to you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, perhaps now would be a good time for us to ask His Honor the Speaker. Let me put it this way. Perhaps I should move now for His Honor the Speaker to have progress reported to him and leave us to sit again.
The question is that I do not report progress to His Honor the Speaker and beg for leave to sit again. All honorable members in favor, say aye. Honorable members against, say no. We think the ayes have it.
The chairman of committees has reported progress and requests leave to sit again. All members St. James Central.
Mr. Speaker, sir, I beg to move that the House be suspended for 10 minutes.
The question is that this honorable chamber be suspended until 12:05. All of the honorable members in favor, please say aye. Those against, please say no. We think the ayes have it. This honorable chamber stands suspended until 5 minutes after 12.